Okay, at this time, I'll call the Budget Committee meeting to order and ask Angela to please do the roll call.
Cole. Hannum.
Here.
Lewis.
Here.
Mitchell.
Here.
Moon.
Here.
We have a quorum.
I'll now ask for the emergency announcement to be made, please.
Before we get started, let me read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you have reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles.
I'll now ask if there's any input on items on the agenda. Seeing none. Item D, the minutes that need approval are in your packet, and this is for the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? I'll ask for a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I declare this motion passed. Finance, item E, increase, decreases, and transfers. Item E1A, social, culture, and recreational projects, Fund 101-09-1150. It relocates grant monies that lapsed in 6/30/15. Do I have a motion to go ahead and put that on the floor?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any discussion or questions for Jackie? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Item E1B, Circuit Court Clerk, Fund 101-53120, and this is to utilize funds of their data processing reserve for computers and software. Do I have a motion to put it on the floor?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussions or questions?
Think we ought to let him have his money back?
Go ahead and let him have his money back. I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Hannum.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item E1C, Schools Education Capital Projects, Fund 189-091300. This is for camera security at the Townsend Elementary School. Do I have a motion to put this on the floor?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Hannum.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item E1D, General Purpose School Fund 141. This is to line BOE approved budget with the County Commission's adopted budget. Do I hear a motion to put it on the floor?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion or questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
got a question on the item. It's labeled communications, $508,300.
Troy?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Committee, this is a budget amendment, which is lengthy at best, 19 pages. In general, overall, this amendment aligns what the Commission appropriated last month with the final Board of Ed's approved budget, with a couple of things to make note of, and I'll get to the line item, Commissioner Moon, you're asking about. The net of this budget amendment is actually an increase of $312,000, with two revenue items being adjusted. One being the basic education program for $34,000, which we got a revised June estimates, the last one we got, and it was $34,000 more than what we had originally put in the budget. And then asking to allow us to use fund balance of $278,000 to make up that net increase of $312,000. This budget aligns again with what the board had approved in terms of salary increases, some new positions, gets everything that I had put in one pot of money to all the different line items throughout the budget. One of the things that was not in the earlier budget request back in March was a recent notification that we got from E&A, who is our internet service provider, where the FCC and the company that they use to vet out applications for E-rate discounts. Schools across the country are eligible to apply for federal E-rate discounts on their internet services, and we've been getting those discounts for many, many years. We're part of a consortium of 43 other school districts in East Tennessee that was managed or operated out of the Sweetwater school system. That application for those federal E-rate discounts was denied by the FCC this time. And so we got a letter from E&A notifying that we were going to lose those discounts. That's an amount of about $500,000 for next school year. So our internet costs, until that appeal, we've appealed, all of the school districts have appealed that decision. Until that decision is made, we've got to budget for the full freight of our internet service costs, which is an additional $500,000 on a 12-month basis. We're billed on that monthly. So that's what's in that $508,000 in that line item, Commissioner Moon, that you're referring to. That's what that increase is for. The board made some cuts within the budget to get some of that, but chose or asked to use some of our fund balance in the amount of $278,000 to finish that up. We really don't have a choice at this point to change or do anything different with our internet service provider. The equipment's in place to do something to change internet providers at this point is not a viable option for our schools. We've got to have that. We're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place and don't really have another option at this point. The attorneys who are representing the consortium are appealing, helping all the school districts appeal the FCC. They have sent a letter to Senator Lamar Alexander and Corker and all the representatives asking them to do whatever they can to push the FCC to make a quick decision and hopefully in our favor. I don't know how long that will take. It's taken them 2 years to come to this decision. So that's where we're at, and that's what that is.
Mr. Chairman, one more question.
Yes.
When did this come to light?
This was late spring. We didn't get this. I think it was sometime in May early May when we were notified about this. Maybe late April. I can't remember the exact date.
Well after your budget.
Yeah, well after the board had addressed the budget for the first time and submitted the budget to us. We didn't know what the outcome of that denial was initially until even later than that. Late May, before we knew exactly what it was going to do to us.
Troy, the way I'm understanding this was you and a group of the others of the consortium. Was this a grant through the FCC, or where did the FCC, how did they allocate this money? How did that come to us?
I'm not going to speak as an expert on this, so it's a complicated process. I'll do the best I can. All the school districts in the consortium file applications. They're submitted to the FCC. They're looking at your internet service, your internet bills, your internet costs, and based on that and based on your school's free and reduced rate, they set the amount of discount that your school district is going to get off of your internet bill. It's different for each school district. Those discounts are paid or reimbursed to the internet service provider. So the internet service provider bills us at the discounted rate.
And then the FCC pays the difference to the internet provider? Or
Yes, sir. That's my understanding of how it works.
so the FCC, by not distributing this money, did, and there again, this is, did the FCC's budget get cut so much that that they couldn't do this, or are they just getting ready to put a whole lot of money back into the FCC budget? Because this, I'm assuming if we got 500,000, there's a whole lot more funding that was put out there for the other school systems, and now the FCC is going to put that into the. Did they give a reason why they did this? Why did was it due to budget cuts, or was it due to what? Do you know?
I've not seen anything necessarily that says why they made that decision. It had to do with the original bid or request for proposal that was let 2 years ago with the consortium. I think the losing bidder filed a complaint with the FCC, and then it's taken them 2 years to vet through that complaint. That's the only thing I have gathered from the information that I've seen. I don't know what their ultimate basis or criteria was for that decision. But for in the letter written to Senator Alexander from the Commissioner of Education was State of Tennessee, Candace McQueen. She quote references the E-rate benefits that the districts collectively are losing is $12 million. So the 43 school systems are getting hit really, really hard.
That's just in the state of Tennessee.
That's just in East Tennessee.
East
yes.
Tennessee, okay. Okay. I think he had his, Mike, you have your light
Sure,
on.
I guess my question is, somebody has to know somewhere why this was denied. Did we get a letter, or did the state get a letter? I mean, to deny that size of a request, somebody had to say somewhere why it was denied. I can't imagine that we don't know what the problem is.
Well, I think the letter went to, I'm not sure. I've not seen that letter if we did get it. So I don't know for certain.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I was just wondering why it's not a viable option for us to, for the school system to look into another internet provider?
All of the equipment, the lines that are laid, they belong to E&A, our internet service provider. To change that out would take, and I would take months. That's not a viable solution because we can't start school in August without internet service.
The lines belong to
Well,
another company.
the equipment, I'm not sure, again, you have to forgive me, I'm not an IT person. I should, maybe if I'd have known that was an issue, I would have brought one of them with me. The equipment that is in our schools that connects, the connectivity equipment belongs to the internet service provider.
As do all of them. I mean, it's just a matter of purchasing new routers, installing them. It shouldn't take more than a week. It shouldn't take more than a week or two, Mr. Chair.
Well, that's not my understanding, but I mean, I can inquire again about that, but that's not my understanding.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Would it not be a viable option for the schools to use the same internet provider then as the county?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't even know who the county uses.
Any other discussion on this?
Troy, just one other comment, I guess, as far as money that's been transferred from one account to the other. One of those is almost $60,000 for library books.
Yes, sir.
As much as the discussion's been held over the last few years about textbooks and so forth.
Right.
How important is $60,000 worth of library books that we're not going to get?
I mean, it depends on who you ask, I guess. The board collectively obviously did not feel that that was a high priority against everything else in the budget. That's all. I mean, that's the best I can answer that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is there any other questions or discussion?
One more comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Troy, I believe this E&A, we had an earlier discussion, probably 2 or 3 years ago. The E&A and AT&T are probably the only two internet service providers that the FCC will do the rebates for LEAs. I'm not 100% certain.
I'm not 100% certain of that. I feel
Somehow
like
that
probably.
came back to my memory.
I don't know of any other internet providers that could service the schools where we're at, like the way we're serviced right now. But again, I'm just not in that field to know exactly. I don't think we can go down to Charter and ask them to come in and do this for us. Maybe I should have said that, but.
Any other discussion or questions on this? I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Hannum.
I'm thinking. Yes.
Lewis. Yes. Mitchell.
No.
Moon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Next one, E1E, Blount County Sheriff's Office, Fund 101-054-110, it's to pay state mandated supplement for their officers. Do I have a motion to put it on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions?
I need to make one correction on there. That should be Fund 101 instead of 141 on your agenda.
Okay.
101.
And if I may speak to this.
Yes, go ahead.
The state, this is a supplement that the state offers law enforcement agencies and fire service agencies across the state. We got the money on the 29th of June, and we need to pay our employees, so the money's in fund balance for last year, and we need to bring it forward and appropriate it out of fund balance to be able to pay it this year. And then we'll take care of all the accruals during the closing process.
This is not just funding that they get because they're in law enforcement or the fire service. They actually have to, they're mandated to meet.
But it's offered by the
Yes,
state.
yes, it is, if they meet the criteria. Okay. Any other discussion? I'll ask for roll call vote, please.
Hannum.
Yes.
Lewis. Yes. Mitchell.
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item F1A, Library, the Jane L. Petway Foundation. This is monies for tables and chairs. So I've asked for a motion to put it on the floor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussions or questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Can I make one statement that kind of applies to all three? In reviewing our grant policy, all three of these are not required to go to commission at our policy. And that's something that fell through the cracks in our staff transition, so I'll accept responsibility for that. But That's why it's under discussion, possible action. At some point, we've got to transition back to what our policy is. So if this body didn't want to vote on them because there's no grant match required, you can just pass them on to the full commission as information only if you choose.
Mike,
Mike was a motion maker.
yeah. You want to amend your motion to go ahead and send A, B, and C? All of these are no match grants.
All three is information.
You want to amend your motion to just,
Yeah, to move all three as information.
okay. Do we need to vote on the amendment? Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second and an amendment. I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Hannum,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item F2, A, B, C. These are information only. I guess item F2A, Randy, do you want to talk about the Knox County Regional Forensic Center notice of 5% increase? Or Angeli, excuse me.
It'll come on. Yes, we got a notice from the Knox County Regional Forensic Center just stating that as of August 1st, they are increasing their charges by 5% for autopsies and autopsy-related services.
Item F, any questions for Angeli on that?
We need to do a budget amendment anytime in the future, or are we sufficiently taken care of for this year's budget?
At this time, we don't need to do anything because it really depends on the number of autopsies and procedures that we have done throughout the year. So as we get further along, we may need to do one later. But as of right now, we're okay.
Any other questions or discussion on that? Item F2B, Blount County Emergency Communications District Budget. Judge isn't here for any questions on that. Item F2C, Recovery Court Grant Contract Renewal. Does anybody, Amy, would you like to come up and just explain that to us, please?
In our budget already, that's already been approved. It's the $70,000 that we get from the state. We don't actually have to do an application each year for that. We just have to do a renewal budget each year. And so, but since it is a grant we receive, it wasn't presented as a grant because we don't actually do an application. So it's just basically to let everybody know the renewal was done, it was approved from the state, as it is every year.
Anybody have any questions for Amy? Thank you, Amy. Item G is the finance reports. This is information only. Item H, items not on the agenda. Any input on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Move to adjourn.